Hello everybody, my name is Pravus and welcome back to more Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich. We are going to be jumping back into this overhaul mod and having a bit of fun with a nation that has been requested on the channel for a while, and I've said I want to do it, and we're finally going to get to it, and that is the Russian Republic. Now, Russia, of course, is a nation you kind of expect to be overpowered as heck in this game because, I mean, look at it, it is freaking massive. But at least in this game, Russia, did lose the war in World War I after the Germans won in this alternate timeline. As a result, the Russians have been finding themselves in kind of a weird position where economically they're not doing the best, and also they are constantly facing a lot of internal political unrest. Also, their military is extraordinarily obsolete. So, we're going to have to modernize the crud out of this nation. And one of the fun things about the Russian Republic, at least from my understanding, is that you actually can take this country in a lot of different directions, depending on how you react to a whole load of different events and your national focus tree. So, the world's our oyster as far as options. The question is execution. Let's go ahead and jump into a game of the Russian Republic and see how we can do. Now, I have not really been reading much ahead of time as far as whether there's a particularly overpowered strategy for Russia. I kind of want to just jump into this blind, so that is exactly what we are going to do. Apparently there's more information as far as the latest patch leaving for Syria. That's fun. I hear there's another update on the way relatively soon, and that, for example, Austria is going to be getting a national focus rework, which will be exciting because I think Austria-Hungary would actually be a very fun playthrough. But if there is going to be a new national focus, well, then we want to take a look at that. Alright, so let's get started with some of the basics. First off, we are led by Alexander Karensky, who has terrible stability and political power gain. He is the eternal president. That doesn't sound so good. We are currently being led by the social liberals. We have a god-awful national spirit, which is reducing my stability by 10%. We have divided military staff, reducing my doctrine research speed by 75%. Oh my god. And naval doctrine. Okay, these are terrible. These are truly terrible. We have, let's see, Pavel Milyukov, who is a backroom backstabber, who at least is getting me some daily political power gain, but otherwise is crushing my stability right now. A social liberal who's also making up some more political power gain, and trade deal, he's not too bad, a great compromiser. Balanced budget advocate, okay, that's not too bad, and a crime fighter. So we have quite a few different ministers in my government who are making up for the lack of political power thanks to Karensky being pretty bad. But most of it's still working toward reducing my stability, and that is absolutely awful. Let's take a look at our national focuses and see what our options are. Okay, it's relatively extensive. Now I'm imagining that a lot of this is going to get kind of narrowed out based on what political path we decide to choose. Can I actually choose anything? I don't see any actually as available at the moment. Political stabilization. Can I do this right now? Nope, we don't meet the requirements. Okay. Well, apparently we can't do anything yet with our national focus tree, so let's just start building up some political power. For our research, at least we do start with 4 different research slots. That's not the worst thing in the world. Let's go for some basic machining tools and some construction. Of course, we want to get the research speed. And there's no point in working on doctrines right off the bat because, well, that reduction by 75% is pretty darn penalizing. I think what I'm going to do is instead start working on the tech for heavy tanks. From my last playthrough as the Ottoman Empire, which, by the way, if you missed the Ottoman Resurgence campaign that I did in the base game going for the achievement Hardly Anything Serves, that was one of the best HoI4 campaigns I've ever done. It was extremely fun. But out of that, some people made the criticism that I am following outdated meta strategies involving artillery, and they're absolutely correct. That is certainly true. I think back in version 1.6, I think it was, like 2 years ago, artillery was nerfed, and I haven't really revamped my strategy since then. So I'm going to start trying to work on some new, more meta strategies involving tanks. And playing as Russia, I think we're going to have the resources we need to go for the heavy tanks. So let's even create some really good space marines. Though to that extent, I will want to start making some light tanks. Apparently, one of the meta strategies out there right now is to be using light tanks as a recon company for your infantry, which is really interesting because it does give you the tiniest little bit of armor. But that little tiny bit of armor means that your enemies have to have some level of piercing value, otherwise they do not do full damage against you. So if they don't have any artillery, it's just an infantry versus infantry fight. Just simply the addition of an armored recon company means you're going to win those fights pretty overwhelmingly and inflict extra casualties. So we'll try messing with some of that. For now, though, For now, we'll just go for things like the heavy tanks and the regular light tanks. All right, so let's go ahead and get all these guys kind of situated into a big army. No idea what to do with these guys yet. My understanding is that we are going to have a lot of instability, which tells me most likely we will have to worry about a civil war pretty early on in the game, which I am, of course, looking forward to. Quote unquote. Anything else we're missing? I think that was everybody. Free dockyards. We should probably go for the naval meta, which, while submarines are certainly one option, and I use them incorrectly every time, by the way. Submarines, you're not supposed to have one giant fleet of like 170 submarines. They will get detected and bombed to all heck. You're supposed to do small strike groups of like 10. The basic fleet meta right now actually involves a handful of screening destroyers and then heavy cruisers, which can bomb the snot out of your enemy. Fast heavy cruisers that are hard to hit. So I guess... I don't know, what do I want here? I guess we can just go for some heavy cruisers here, I guess. Yeah, let's go ahead and start producing some of these for now. That'll be fine. I'm not expecting to have a very strong navy in this particular game, but we will see. A troubled history. All right, now we get into the flavor text. The February Revolution put an end to centuries of Tsarist despotism, but its achievements were on the verge of becoming undone. In October of 1917, the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, stormed the Winter Palace and seized control of Russia, declaring the world's first revolutionary socialist state, Soviet Russia. A wide front of monarchists, republicans, moderate socialists, and foreign interventionists rose up against it. The Bolshevik Revolution was stillborn. In September of 1918, Lenin was assassinated by Fanny Kaplan, a disgruntled left SR, and the Bolshevik cause began to disintegrate. This, combined with German supplies provided by the White Movement throughout the Civil War, meant that by 1920, the revolution was successfully suppressed. So in this case, basically in this timeline, with German intervention and also a timely assassination, the Soviet Union never really was able to take off like it does in the base game. In 1922, the white generals dictated a constitution for the new Russian Republic, which, albeit democratic, was riddled with issues and did not satisfy everyone. Hoping that he would prove to be a weak figurehead, the whites pushed forward Alexander Kerensky, the leader of the provisional government before the October coup, as the first president of the Russian Republic. Karensky would prove to be capable, however, he survived the 1925 Kolchak Putsch and implemented new economic policy to restore economic growth and has governed the country for the past 15 years. A lack of serious political opposition and widespread electoral manipulation have certainly helped his longevity as well. By 1936, however, President Kerensky has eroded the last of his allies in the government, and new economic policy is no longer yielding any dividends. Nationalists see him kowtow to Germans, Democrats believe that he is turning into a dictator, and socialists simply want the entire system gone. All of them share one belief, however, that Russia still has the potential to assert its power in the world. Long live Russia! One and indivisible. Get the event, the Russian Constitution. Here we go. Yeah, Kaiserreich always starts with lots of reading. If you guys aren't okay with that, well then, you can always jump forward, but here we go. Signed in 1922 after the end of the Russian Civil War and 5 years after the February Revolution, the Constitution of the Russian Republic is a scar of the fractured white movement which saw its adoption. It defines Russia as a federal democratic republic, guarantees universal freedoms and rights to every citizen of the republic, and is the document by which the country's political institutions have been organized since then. In some ways, the Constitution is an updated version of the Tsarist Constitution of 1906. The upper house of parliament, the Senate, is the main example of this authoritarian heritage. It is an unelected institution composed of senior statesmen and delegates from upper strata, such as aristocrats, university professors, and business associates. So it's kind of an oligarchy. Got it. The lower house, the State Duma, is elected and holds most of the legislative power in the country. Okay, so it's actually the oligarchs that are countered by an actual representative republic government body, all right? The presence of the unelected Senate curbs democratic process in the country, however. The president is elected by the Senate, but many of his powers and duties are styled after the position of Tsar in the 1906 Constitution. Therefore, he holds significant executive power and appoints the council ministers with the approval of both legislative houses. The president is the primary actor in executing legislative acts and represents the Republic in foreign affairs. Okay. He also has access to the infamous Article 48 of the Constitution, which allows the president to take emergency actions without the approval of the Duma. President Alexander Kerensky has grown fond of using this power to bypass the increasingly fractured legislature and thus pass decrees and laws, so he is becoming a bit more of a dictator as time goes on. Drafted under the guidance of the white generals, the Constitution can only call itself a protector of democracy when its articles are not being used against it. Yeah, this seems like a fairly poorly thought out constitution, mainly drafted to give some democratic process to the masses to increase stability, but also to give power to the factions that were already kind of in oligarchic control before the constitution was drafted. All right, well, the constitution apparently guarantees stability, and we get yet another flavor text. I'm going to spend 10 minutes reading, aren't I? The Russian Civil War left the economy of the Republic in a pitiful position. The conflict has devastated the country and left millions dead. Famine was breaking out in the Volga region, and anarchy, I'm sorry, I thought that was an S. My eyes apparently are terrible. Anarchy reigned across much of the country. The government of Kerensky has left a lot of political capital and used it for a vast series of economic stimulus programs dubbed New Economic Policy. The NEP combined financial stabilization with concessions to the progressive movement, new currency with a gold standard to put an end to rampant inflation. The de facto land redistribution in the countryside was recognized with additional land reform, exporter, blah, 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 restore industrial zones. By the late 1920s, despite losing access to the Don-Kuban Chernozem, Russia was one of the fastest growing economies on the planet with plenty of potential to spare. However, it began to slow down by 1933, and the Great Depression in America depreciated investment in Russia, and the state entered full-on recession. Okay, so the new economic policy sounded great, but is now stagnating pretty badly. We need to strengthen up the economy. Okay, so we're setting the stage for political turmoil and also economic instability, which always allows for a major change in a political landslide. Okay, and we have President Kerensky getting assassinated within the first month of the game. The sound of gunfire rings across the capital. Alexander Kerensky, the president of the Russian Republic, was shot and killed by an assassin while he was climbing the steps of the Senate House. His killer was shot dead by the military police before he could make his escape. His motives will forever be unknown. Regardless, the fate of Russia has been irrevocably changed. A shot that will ring across the world. So we're going to make our political power suck, our stability sucks, our war support sucks, and we cannot assign any new ministers or laws. So we're at negative 60 stability. Ooh, boy. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. Real fun. Okay, still can't do any national focuses. I kind of thought that would be allowed by the political stabilization, but we still haven't met any of our requirements. The aftermath. Wrong one. Hang on. Okay. Kerensky may have been hated by many, but it is only that when he died did it become clear how much Russia needed him. The coalition between cadets and socialist revolutionaries has begun to dissolve immediately. Kerensky's right-hand man, Viktor Chernov, who was usually handled the nitty-gritty of the coalition building while the president acted as a public face, has suddenly found his job to be a lot harder. All while the right-wing forces in the Senate and the Duma coalesce and gather their forces. Their soon-to-be savior is Grand Duke Dimitri, who has had all the material to be a fine president in their eyes. Chernov's only hope is the left opposition, the Mensheviks and radical socialists represented by Irakli, whatever, some people will put rivalries aside and join forces with the hated SRs and the cadets. Anti-democratic forces plot in the shadows too. Pieter Wrangel, the Black Baron, and Field Marshal Laver Kornilov have independently drawn their plans on seizing control of the state for this exact occasion. They have no reason to play ball with the parliamentarians in Moscow now that Kerensky is gone, after all. Whatever may be the outcome of the January crisis, it is bound to leave a lasting impact on Russian history. Alright, so this is where we get to make a decision. The Mensheviks and Socialists agreed to a coalition of a plural left, appointing an acting president. So this will be going down a left wing. Chernov's coalition falls. The parliamentary elects Dimitri Romanov. Could go down a monarchist route. I am very partial to the monarchist and imperialist routes. Imperialism, just saying. Baron Vragnel establishes martial law. Okay, so a militarist, I'm going to go for like a military junta. And Kornilov storms Moscow, which is, it sounds like, another militarist route. fun as it might be to go down a socialist route this time around, that likely would put me as part of the Third International, which means I would ally up with the syndicalists in Britain and France and might make the game a little bit too easy. Becoming part of a major coalition would mean I can easily stomp down the German Empire and conquer a lot of the world, but at the same time, I kind of like, going my own way. Me against the entirety of the world. I would love to destroy the syndicalists as well as the German Empire. I'm kind of leaning toward going for Dimitri Romanov, and I suspect this would allow me to re-establish the Tsar. So we're going to go down Dimitri Romanov and see what happens there. Dimitri Romanov assumes power thanks to the Senate. The Kremlin Palace in Moscow has not been left vacant for long. Sorry, so much reading eventually means I'm just going to start tripping over my words. Dimitri Romanov, Grand Duke of the House of Romanov and member of the Senate, has been elected as the new president of Russia with a narrow majority of Octobrists, Russian nationalists, Eurasianists, and right-wing cadets, playing the role of a modern Romanov. Dimitri finds his appeal among conservative Republicans and constitutional monarchists alike, both of whom see a savior in the man. After getting elected by the Senate, the Grand Duke declared it as his first intention to restore stability to a fallen nation. Sounds good. Surprisingly, or perhaps not so, he made sure to omit any promises to support democracy in particular. Neither he nor the right-wing senators who stand behind his back are all thrilled with the democratic governance which the left champions, although they're fine with paying lip service to it. The people await the first actions of their new president. Perhaps he can save Holy Russia, regaining a little bit of the stability that we lost. And we also get observer rights on the Legation Council, which has something to do, I believe, with what's going on down over here in China. But I'm not especially worried about that. We get a voice in Shanghai. Okay. No, that should be kind of fun. Do we now have access to a national focus? It looks like the answer is still a big fat nope. Really? Okay. No, we don't get anything. I'm not going to worry about the rubber. Only -2 is not a big deal. Let's just continue with the story and continue laying out the groundwork for a Russian Republic. I'm going to recreate an empire. Alash Autonomy declares independence. Terrible news. Our autonomous region of Alash Orda has decided to use the political chaos in Russia to sever almost all their ties with Russia and declare independence. While many hotheads in the general staff are demanding immediate action, ongoing chaos prevents us from responding to this treachery. It seems we must allow Alash Orda to become a thing. Oh, it's this guy right here? Okay, so I think they were my puppet before, but now they are independent. Well, with any luck, we are going to have the option to subjugate them in the near future. I would like to destroy them all. I plan on going for a conquest spree in Eastern Europe and down through Mongolia, Alash Orda, all the way down here to the Islamic Federation of Turkestan and so on. We're going to create a rather massive powerhouse if I have anything to say about it, and I really need to start pushing into Europe to gain an industrial base. That's what I would like to see happen. Are we constructing anything? We are. We're constructing at least one civilian factory. It's not going to amount for much, but we'll go for a little bit. We don't have a lot of infrastructure, but I'll go for whatever civilian factories I can in a few key areas to start getting me something. Now we need to appoint a prime minister. Apparently, we're not simply a federal republic with only a president. We have to have somebody leading the House of Commons, I'm guessing in the Duma. Having gotten elected as president, Grand Duke Dimitri Romanov now commands a large, shaky coalition of the right wing in the Duma. Already, the aristocracy and the business lobby have reached out to him to advise on his next move, and since Dimitri has little to no political experience... See, I was kind of assuming he had some, and that was going to lead to stability. I think I might have made a slight mistake on that front. He is willing to listen. That's good. Several candidates are on the table, and each one brings their own supporters. Do we want to go for Vladimir Prushkevich and the Union of the Russian People, which gets me some stability? We get the paternal autocrats, the flamboyant brute, which reduces my political power, but I get some stability and war support. Okay. Patriarch Kirill will turn Dmitri into a man of the people, who is the head of the authoritarian Democrats, a spiritual leader. Consumer goods goes up, but stability goes way up. Okay. Appease the Democrats. Probably not necessary exactly, but we could go down a market liberal route. Backroom backstabber again, lose stability, but gain political power gain. Or, this advice is useless! Choose Felix Yusupov, Dmitri's childhood friend. An authoritarian Democrat, a happy amateur, who is going to get me political power but reduce construction speed. Well, Consumer goods sucks. That said, getting our stability up actually would help make up for the fact that we are getting kind of terrible everything. I think I'm going to go down the paternal autocrat route because imperialism. At this point, it is the meme of this channel. We're going to do it. Let's go for the paternal autocrats. Ba-boom! There we go. All right, we have made our decisions. Still any options? No, we have to wait for more events. Goody! I guess I shall wait a little bit longer. Looks like Edward VIII has been crowned King of Great Britain, which doesn't really mean anything because, you know, Britain is currently not under control of the crown. He's actually over here in Canada. Canada actually is another playthrough we could do. I feel like it's something that's been done fairly frequently on YouTube, which is the reason I haven't done it, but it's actually a really fun run where you play as the exiled monarchs of Canada and can try to retake Britain from the syndicalists. It's pretty fun. Let's see. Payment of the Brest-Litovsk, I said that completely wrong, Litovsk, reparations. During the Berlin Conference of November 1935, the Germans forced us to repay the remaining part of the Weltkrieg War indemnities agreed upon by the Brest-Litovsk. Said it completely wrong 5 times in a row now. All right, screw that. 1 year earlier than expected, which has put the government in a delicate position. The current budget for 1936 is already stretched to a bare minimum, and if we are to pay the cursed Teutons... Really? The cabinet sees no other alternative than to impose harsh austerity measures. This cuts in government spending will be most harshly felt in social services sector and in many homes of invalided? That's not quite right. War veterans, depending on the state support, our citizens are already disgruntled, so this seems no good. Oh my god! Alright, payment of reparations early, and we have serious austerity for the next year, which is crushing me. Oh my gag! Minus 58% stability? That's just disgusting, dude. Why can't I do anything? Hello? Hello? I don't know why we can't do anything. I would feel like by now we should be allowed. Novi cures. Almost immediately upon assuming power as president, Dimitri Romanov began looking into all the ways he could possibly expand his power while remaining in the trappings of the Constitution. The document has got enough errors that it did not take a long time. Soon the president appeared before the Duma again, this time to announce his new course. Under this reform program into the Constitution, the powers of the State Duma have been limited for an indefinite duration of time, and while they remain the main legislative organ in the state, they now have to share their powers with the Senate, which has received the power of legislative initiative, as well as the ability to promulgate executive orders bypassing the Duma outright. So basically, we've just done away with the House. As the Senate is far more loyal to the new president than the Duma ever was, it means that Dimitri has gained a powerful tool at his disposal in order to reform the state at his whim, regaining a little bit of stability. That's the fun thing about stability in this game, just sort of generally speaking. As long as you have a totalitarian control, you'll probably be pretty stable. Alright, workers of organizations all over Russia have reached an agreement and decided to call for a general strike, which is going to make things even worse. Production goes down, factory output goes down, stability immediately gets lost. Damned syndicalists. How dare you and your silly trade unions. Reorganization of the internal police. This sounds like a good opportunity to flex my power a little bit. As a symbol of Tsarist repression, the Something I Cannot Say Guard Department was abolished by the Provisional Government on March of 1917 and never restored. In effect, however, secret police practices in the Russian Republic never vanished and simply changed form. The white forces in the Russian Civil War operated their own measures against Bolshevik subversion, and several departments were formed under the Ministry of Internal Affairs to fulfill the same purposes, such as the 3rd Directorate of Ministry of Internal Affairs, or something. Alexander Karensky's government used these institutions with little hesitation to prevent a second revolution. And most famous of their actions was the assassination of Tambov revolutionary Alexander Antonov. By mid-1935, the president was planning to reorganize the internal police and establish departments for protecting order, which would bear the same name as the Tsarists' Okhrana. Though he may have passed, people in our government still call to finish the reforms and thus grant us the powerful tool of defending the current order. Focus, reintroduce, something is now available. Okay, so now I finally get to go down a different route. This one, specifically. We gain a national spirit, which gives us a little bit of power, political power gain. We get an operative for spies, and intel network strength goes up. Also, it creates an intelligence agency. Well, I mean, it's literally the only thing I can do at the moment, so I say we go for it. Of course, the result is I am basically making no political power per day at all because my stability is god-awful, but yeah, alright, fine. The League of 8 Provinces declared war down over here in China, so these guys are going to have some fun. We did have fun with the Qing government last time I played in Kaiserreich, if I recall. That was a pretty fun playthrough. Black Monday officially hits Russia. That was gonna happen. Alright, now we have an economic depression, which hurts even more. Also, the focused bureaucratic overhaul is now going to be available. So we could have not done this and instead jumped up over here. What would be better? Bureaucratic overhaul for some stability, or what is this? The Zemstvo is a form of local governance and representation first introduced by Alexander in 1864. It weighs heavily in the favor of the aristocrats, but still assures representation of the lower classes. It assures stability and gets political power. Okay. Leads to a lot of different investment decisions. Can't do that one. More decisions. This one's only for the bureaucratic overhaul. Construction speed goes down, but production efficiency cap going up that high is pretty good. So, this would lead to really good industrial research speed. This is just better research speed across the board. This would let me build up a lot of factories faster. This lets me get more value out of each individual factory. I don't know, maybe a bureaucratic overhaul could be good. We'll consider that. Nothing we can do about it at the moment. Not an option, but we'll see. We will see. So does this general strike, like, expire at any point? Doesn't look like it does. I might just have to smash all of the, I might just have to smash the syndicalists. We'll see. Ivan Pavlov, the widely known Russian physiologist, died today at 86. He received a Nobel Prize. Well, we gain a little stability, apparently. We expressed our sadness and announced his laboratory would become a museum. Okay. General strike expands and gets worse. Great. Yeah, I think we're going to have a little Civil War action, if I'm not mistaken. I suspect a little Civil War action can be expected. That'll be great. How long until this is done? 35 days? All right, let's see. The death of Pius, electoral gridlock in Britain. So they haven't decided which of the syndicalist routes they're going to go for. Gallo seizes control of Ecuador. I should not have gone down this yet, though getting the political power is nice. This was not actually that important. Would have been better to save up and go for an economic renovation. If I had known that was going to be the case, we would have done it, but oh well. What else do we get as far as our other ministers? We get a apologetic clerk, which got me political power gain. We got a bank president for a construction speed, okay. And another backstabber who gets division organization, but we get some political power. So we got just enough ministers to make sure I'm not losing political power whenever I'm working on a national focus, but that's kind of it. Not the best situation, not the best situation at all. Let's go for a little bit more research speed. I think I'm going to have to hope that we can go down a route that makes me into a powerhouse when it comes to research. I want to become a technological marvel. And using the power of my eventual industry and research, maybe we can dominate the Germans as they stagnate. That's what I'm going to go for. Negotiating with the strikers. We could stall. We could reach an agreement, but the reforms are at a minimum, which is going to create consumer good issues for the next 2 months. Or reach a thorough agreement, which is going to hurt for 150 days. Expanded worker rights for a year, but we get our stability. 150 days of really, really bad consumer goods is awful, because it means we're not going to get pretty much anything. If I stall the negotiations, though, we lose stability further. For 1 year, we're going to have bad production. I feel like if we stall, we're going to end up coming to this anyway. So I think if we stall, we're trying to force a revolution. But I might not have to make any concessions. Whereas if I thoroughly agree with them, maybe they're going to become a problem again in the future. I feel like I kind of want to force through I want to force through another. Maybe I don't. Maybe stalling is only good if you're trying to go down the route of forcing the next revolution so you can become socialist. I'm going to reach a thorough agreement. I think it's the best decision. I don't know if it's the best, and it's certainly going to hurt. You can see we've lost almost all of our factories for a good long while, but the workers are going to return. The result is we lose the general strike, which means we should get a lot of our production efficiency back up. We should gain a lot more stability as a result. Yeah, we won't be able to construct anything for a while, but at least we can use the factories I have to start producing some guns. Given that apparently, despite the fact that we have all these factories, they only know how to make a single gun per day. Imagine 5 factories, right? And you got like, I don't know, 2,000 people employed, all gathering around one table making more than 1 gun per day. Oh wow, how exciting. The anarchists, socialists, and syndicalists and Bolsheviks are weakening the stability of our motherland, and they have done a bombing plot. I just gave some concessions to the left, and you guys immediately try to bomb me. We might have a civil war regardless. Maybe this was the wrong choice. Maybe we should have forced it through so I could kill them all. I don't know. Elite gymnasiums. Apparently every city in the Russian Empire used to have a gymnasium. Yeah, do you want to go for the Olympics? I mean, elite gymnasiums for the smartest or public schools for everyone? Why not gain stability? Why lose it? Are we trying... Again, I think that there is a strategy where you can deliberately try to tank your stability to force through another civil war if you want to go for a Soviet Union playthrough. In fact, if I recall correctly, I've heard tell that there is a path which you can take with the Russians to basically get the Soviet Union to fire without even having a civil war. You actually just go so bad in stability that you have to accept, and you immediately skip the civil war and create the Soviet Union as a really powerful nation. Supposedly, that's actually the most powerful path for Russia, but I'm not worried about that. So do we go down the bureaucratic overhaul, or do we go down this route? I mean, 15% production efficiency cap is amazing, but this all reduces my construction speed a lot. Like, between all this, minus 15% construction speed in order to have really high efficiency on our factories. Like, is that worth it? 20%, actually. Minus 20% construction speed. Good lord. For an absolute ton of production efficiency, like, credit where it's due, but, like, I can almost make up for that just by having the sheer number of factories, right? 20% is huge. I'm not sure it's a fair trade, to be honest. Whereas this just lets me build up factories faster. Let's try the bureaucratic overhaul. I think I don't like it, but we can't take full advantage of our construction so long as we have so many issues with our parties anyway. So much consumer goods. Until we change that, we're not going to get a lot of value out of constructing, whereas I will be able to get more out of individual factories, which could be helpful. But also, I'm going to take what I consider to be a less optimal path just to see if it leads anywhere good. I don't know. You don't know either. We're just going to try things, and we're going to see what ends up happening. All right, but I am going to end this video. So the Russian Republic, we're going to try to restore a Russian empire one way or another. This could be kind of fun, but I think we're going to have a civil war issue, and in the meantime, until we get our stability figured out and all of our internal issues, we can't be a major powerhouse that can actually rival the Germans. But eventually, if I play my cards right, we can become a super powerful nation and try to take on all of Europe. We're going to crush the syndicates, and we're most importantly going to crush the Germans. Thank you all for watching. Hope you're looking forward to this series of Kaiserreich. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, let's go ahead and do it.